All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Christy. Thanks for coming to my channel, where here I want to share collaborations, things I did in the past, which mostly was dance. And I also want to talk openly about an event that happened in my life with some, family drama that needs exposure. But I also want to bring people on who I love and adore and who I find interesting and have a story to share and a song to sing. Oh, my friend Laura Ellis, who's also known as the Vintage Voice. So thank you for joining me here.
My pleasure.
I'm going to tell my audience here a little bit about you, and feel free to interject or add anything. Laura Ellis was born and raised in the great jazz town of Kansas City and now calls Los Angeles her home. Her broadcast credits include the History Channel's Route 66 and Modern Marvels documentaries, the HBO series Carnival, a commercial appearance with Della Reese, and ABC's Modern Family, which I think I saw.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
family. I'm pretty good. Laura Ellis. She is a protege of Alan Paul from the Grammy Award-winning vocal ensemble, the Manhattan Transfer. Her specialty is America's favorite music from decades past to the present. In a 4-year critically acclaimed run of The Vintage Voice, she sang the songs of America's greatest generation. And she's also been on tour with the Wonderells, and she and her co-stars channeled the music and moods of the famous girl groups. Would you say of the 50s, 60s?
50s and 60s, yeah.
50s, 60s, yeah. So also in concert and cabaret venues, Laura Ellis's velvety voice transports the listener back to a time when one note could change the whole mood of a song. She's a classic fan of, you are a classic fan, you are an ardent fan of classic noir movies of the 40s and 50s and their music. So you have been featured in San Francisco at the famed Noir City Film Festival at the Castro Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this piece of music. I want to play it. I was listening to it today. Her
Yeah.
noir vocals are featured as she sings the character of Kat on the video game Contrast, released in 2013 by Compulsion Games and downloaded nearly 2 million times. And I know that you have CDs as well. We'll talk about those. So what a lettered career.
Oh.
And Laura and I, we know each other because we performed together many years ago at Magic Mountain Theme Park. And we have a lot of fun memories, and maybe we'll go into some of those too. But I'm curious to know about the musical influences of your childhood and what you heard, because I didn't grow up in a household. My family played a lot of music, mostly Neil Diamond, ABBA, adult contemporary, musical theater. My parents both really liked musical theater, especially Andrew Lloyd Webber. But I didn't grow up hearing a lot of jazz as a child. And so I'm curious, was that the case with you? Or tell us more about your influences and what it was like growing up in Kansas.
Yeah, I would say that my influences were more pop and rock when I was younger. I started to dive more into the jazz maybe as a teen
Okay.
or in college, but certainly when I was growing up, my parents were listening to was a big, aside from being a kid of the 70s and 80s and
For
all
sure.
that awesome stuff that totally sinks in. But my mom and dad, they listened to their music, which was 50s and 60s music. My dad had like a great 45 collection, and I would listen to those a lot because we were gifted by him as a surprise one Christmas a jukebox
Oh, wow.
for our basement. And so like that, it was it's still like the coolest present ever.
Yeah.
And so my sister and I would like, just load up our selections and like roller skate in the basement. But that was a lot like Sam Cooke, Patsy Cline, um, Otis Redding, like those Roy Orbison, those really had a strong influence on me, especially Patsy Cline and Sam Cooke, I would say vocally. I just was really drawn to their voices. And then as I got older, it's kind of a funny way to get into it, but you remember when Harry met Sally?
Yeah.
And that was like Harry Connick Jr.'s big
Yeah.
explosion onto the scene. And I always say like Harry Connick Jr. is like a gateway drug to jazz.
Yeah.
Because like that really got me into that sound. And then I started to explore from there. And, you know, I was in like choir in college that we did a lot of jazz arrangements and we did a lot of Manhattan Transfer arrangements and things like that. And then I just, you know, as an adult got more into it, but
Well,
kind of a broad.
yeah, I want to interject too for any of our millennials that are watching this that When Harry Met Sally is actually a movie. It's not when our two mutual friends met each other.
I just rewatched it this week. It's such a good movie. Everyone should watch that movie. It's classic.
Yeah.
Classic soundtrack, classic. But yeah, so that's and I was always involved in music.
Yeah.
So you know, I always had music coming into my brain in some capacity.
So when do you think it really like it's like your voice is so perfect for jazz, you know? And when did that kind of like sink in? Was it like a gradual just through the years? I mean, I guess you're saying Harry Connick Jr. around that time. Um, but when I met you, I was auditioning for musicals and our show was a musical. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say it was jazzy. Would you say the Warner Brothers Kids Club was jazzy?
The Warner Brothers Kids Club was not
Yeah.
jazzy. Was not jazzy at all. And that was my first like professional
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was very exciting. It was definitely not jazzy. I don't know what you'd call it.
Yeah.
Poppy, I guess. I started to realize that my voice was suited for that style in high school. Um, because also at the same time, like Linda Ronstadt had come out with all her Nelson Riddle albums, and I was just starting to get into all of that and all the songs from the American Songbook. Like I love them, and I started singing them, and it just seemed very natural. Like I never had a voice that was very modern. Like I can do it if I have to, but other people, that's their forte. I've always, if it's 50s, 60s, if it's jazz, if it's anything, like my voice is more suited for past styles,
Yeah.
um, or more classic styles. So then you realize, well, that's what even though I want to sing, you know,
Right.
Pat Benatar,
Yeah.
I'm not Pat Benatar. So
Right.
maybe I should focus as a professional on what actually works for my voice. So I love to sing Pat Benatar songs, but somebody else can wail a little better, you know, than I can. So as a profession, as like trying to get work, I would focus on the things that suited me best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something that I think it's important for any artist, performing artist or visual artist to know. You inspired me because back in the day, you created productions for yourself. You created, I want to share, I was really touched when I'm laughing because I hope I didn't ruin the show. But Laura together, I don't know if it was called The Vintage Voice, but you put together a show to perform for senior citizen centers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I did that for a long time. It's a very good way to like be able to perform for any audience.
And it
Yeah.
was free. It wasn't paid work, right? You were volunteering.
I'd get a little bit, a very
Yeah.
little bit of, you know, enough to kind of get me there.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
especially now with, my story with how my father, went through Alzheimer's and dementia. And I just feel that it's so important to reach out to that generation. And at the time,
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. So why I said I might have ruined it is I think there are a few times I was like your tech person. Do you remember this? And then one time,
A dog.
what?
There was like a giant Great Dane or something running around.
Yes.
Anyway.
I know. So Laura, I think you were singing patriotic songs and you would ask me
Oh yes.
to do Boogie Woogie
Oh
Bugle,
yes.
two of us. And I felt kind of like the Andrew sisters, like cousin, like maybe like the cousin that wasn't as tight on the harmonies. They're like, dang it, all my other sisters are busy. Let's get the cousin. So in two-part harmony, I think I was a little bit pitchy.
Oh, I doubt it. I doubt it.
But at the
But
time, I saw you and I continue to see you creating your own productions and creating your own vehicles for yourself, not necessarily waiting for somebody to call you. You were self-motivated and putting yourself out there. And it really inspired me with what I ended up doing with my dancer friends. Yeah.
oh, thanks. Yeah, and I continued to do that because then it just became like that's what I do. Like I didn't bother auditioning for anything or seeking anything out. I just created my own things and toured with them and um yeah. But I have thoughts on singing for the senior homes too, so we can talk about that
Yeah.
later.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
but but yeah, I think that's important. I think that it's such a hard business.
Yeah.
It's a really hard business, and but you have to kind of think of it as a business. You know, you're a product. I mean, I hate to say it, but and
Yeah.
if you want to be in the business, you have to just, you know, create products. I hate to talk about
Yeah.
like that, but that people want to buy.
Mhm.
And so I would create shows that I thought had, you know, appeal
Mhm.
for one audience or another. And then I had more control
Yeah.
to, you know, for better or worse.
Yeah.
I think my main issue with it is I never had the resources to like, I would always have these amazing ideas and then I could execute them to a point, but like I didn't have the finances to really like,
Yeah.
oh, this could have been like this grand
Yeah.
thing, but they were still great. And I mean, I still do
Yeah.
that. Um, I've just kind of stepped back from it a little bit. I'm not creating anything at the moment.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we've done a lot of really cool productions over the years and involved, you know, different people and been able to employ other people, which was nice
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, was when I was, helping you with the tech and ruining your songs. That the
Highly
vintage,
doubt that.
was that the vintage voice at that time? Were you
I think I did call that the vintage voice,
yeah,
because that seemed easy. That was good, you know, alliteration marketing,
yeah,
and it kind of said what it was
yeah,
right away. And at the time, I reinvigorated that maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. But at the time, especially, it was definitely like the Greatest Generation people, and so all that music, you know, all that great 40s music I would do. And you know, I really, you know, I'd get a little bit of money, but I always thought of it, and I still think of it kind of as a mission,
yeah,
um, because I would always be very intentional about um, approaching everyone there in like of either a really close interaction or I would touch their hands. I think touch is really important, and I don't think that happens a lot. So I would be very intentional about, you know, shaking hands or you know, a hand on someone or making eye contact and smiling and singing to them because music, and I'm sure you've seen like
yeah,
um, Music Alive and things like programs like that where they bring in music that means something to those people and it really brings them out of
sure,
for a moment out of the state of dementia that they're in.
yeah,
And I would find that all the time. I would find that all the time that you start singing a certain song and all of a sudden this person perks up and you know it's really special and it's very challenging performing because you don't necessarily, you know, you have various degrees of
yeah,
alertness when
yeah,
you're performing in those situations, but I always found that at least, you know, you could connect with a few people and you know, get the smiles and get the spark going and I very it was very rewarding. It's very
yeah.
rewarding.
And perspective being 2020 for me, I didn't know what I would go through, but I certainly with my dad and probably other people with dementia and Alzheimer's, they forget who they are, and you need to kind of remind them of who they are and remind them
Hmm.
who they were. And so I can see why the music would be so therapeutic for them. And now, actually, now that you mentioned that Great Dane, I do remember, but like he was probably there as a therapy dog.
Yeah, I think so. He
Just
was
wonderful
like
at the
running
time.
wild through the thing and like balloons were going everywhere. We
Yeah, I
had some
think at the
times.
time we just thought
We
it
had
was,
some times.
yeah, we thought it was a funny anecdote, but in retrospect now,
Yeah, no, he's probably the house dog or
yeah,
whatever that brought, because animals, animals and music, I think are really breakthrough to people,
yeah, and it is
you know.
unpredictable with our family members or the people with dementia and all that. My dad loved, I think I mentioned Andrew Lloyd Webber, and he loved the
Mhm,
music of the night. And
mhm.
when we were in the hospice time with him, I'm like, oh, this will be great. I'll play it for him. And he totally was oblivious to, you never,
Yeah.
sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't, but it's worth a shot.
yeah, yeah. So I want to play a bit of your song. Do you want to talk a little
Okay.
about it? I love your website. I'll share my screen, but
Okay. What song are we
I'm
playing?
talking about Cat's song. So this
Oh,
one is
okay.
in the game.
In the game,
Yeah.
yes. Do you want me to talk about it or?
I'm not a gamer, so how does that work to have your song in a game?
Well, I was approached by the people at Compulsion
Yeah.
when before the game was quite, well, they weren't ready to release it yet. They were still in the production phase, but they were doing trailers and things for the game.
Yeah.
And so they asked me to use another song of mine, that was a Rita Hayworth performance in a movie called I've Been Kissed Before. So in the original trailer, they used that song and kind of their proof of concept. And then when it came time to actually do the soundtrack, they approached me about singing their original songs for the game. So I do 2 songs in the game. And it was a great experience. Like it was very exciting. They did their recording. It's a Canadian company. They did the instrumental track up there, and then I recorded the vocals down here in Los Angeles. And to see yourself kind of
Yeah.
immortalized in this very Jessica Rabbit-esque.
That's what I was picturing, because you have a Jessica Rabbit voice. That's what I was picturing.
Yes, it's this very Jessica Rabbit, because it's all in silhouette, but there's musical numbers. Like one song is for the kind of the title page, and one song is performed in the game.
Oh, I see.
And yeah, so I got all kinds of lovely feedback from gaming fans from that. I still get emails, and it's not so much email, people don't really email, but direct DMs from people that really enjoyed the game and enjoyed this. It was a really cool soundtrack in general. And it was great. And then I got to go to the Canadian Video Game Music Awards because the song was up for an award, and we did not get it. But it was a wonderful experience. And now I'm like immortalized as a silhouette with very large bosoms.
Oh, okay.
Very large bosoms.
It's not something we can see on YouTube without playing the game, right?
It exists on YouTube.
Oh, really?
I believe the scene exists on YouTube. I think so. Or clips of it anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe for part 2. I want to show off your website, and I love this homepage with the vintage. Can you see? Am I sharing my screen?
Oh yeah.
With the vintage.
Lovely folks at Iconic Pinups. Highly recommend Iconic Pinups out of Los Angeles. They do amazing work.
Yeah. Yeah.
They make you look real nice.
Yeah. I just love these.
Now they have that on the wall. I love all the.
Oh, okay. I see. I see.
Yeah.
Okay, let's play some of the song.
Okay.
Well, let me know if you can make a bit.
You went and left me, but you never really leave me. No matter what I do, but I tried not to dream about you. You say you're sorry, but you're never really sorry. Wish I could fall for someone new. Wouldn't mind if I dreamed, but I drowned in a stream. But I tried not to dream about you. When I met you, I must have been out of my mind. Everybody said he'll do you wrong, but you kissed me. For a while you were kind, and every dream begins so sweetly. Then it goes to hell completely. You said you love me, but you never really loved me. You're sweet, sincere, and so untrue. A night I don't dream is a good night, 'cause I can't stop dreaming about you. Even though I try not to dream about you. Wish I didn't dream about you.
Perfect. It's so perfect for you.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a lot of fun to be a part of the game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was an original song, correct? That they wrote?
That they wrote
Okay.
for the game.
Okay. So I know with your album, Broken Lovely,
Mhm.
right? That is it entirely covers or
I wrote one song.
okay.
I'm not a songwriter.
Okay.
I'm not a songwriter. I have friends that are songwriters and it just flows out of them like no tomorrow.
Yeah.
Occasionally in my life, something is poured out of me and I just, I make a little audio recording. So when it came to do this, I had, one, and then my musical director, John Rodby, we kind of worked together on it, but it's not my, it's not my forte.
Yeah.
But that's also, I was proud of myself because I put it out there, even though it's not, I like the song. I think it's a fun song, but I wouldn't call myself a songwriter.
Right. When you cover songs, what draws you to cover them and take a different approach with it? Here's a pet peeve of mine. I hope you do. I don't think you do this, but when people cover a song, it's like almost exactly the same song that it was originally.
Oh yeah.
I like when it's
you're like, why did you bother doing that?
Cover. And so I know, I glanced at your song listing. I know one of them's Bathwater, right? From No Doubt.
Yeah.
So I figured that's a different version than what was heard on the,
It's a like Cotton Club version.
Yeah.
It's like a not postmodern jukebox, but that kind of thing. Like it's very different. Like people are like, don't even recognize it at first. And so we tried to do that. What draws me to songs generally is whatever it's saying. Like if it makes me cry, then that's for sure. I like that, always like a song that makes me cry. Not the Bathwater does, but it's something that, that touches me emotionally generally, or has a certain mood. For the Broken Lovely album, we took, like we did Fire and Ice, Pat Benatar, but we did it like Fever, Peggy Lee kind of fever, like a little bit of difference. We did the Bring Me to Life by Evanescence. It's like a samba, a little bit of it's a very different. So, remember? I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, we wanted to try to do something different. In the past, they've been, I've done a lot of songs that have been, they've been recorded 1,000 times, so
Yeah.
it's hard to be totally original.
For
But
sure.
my musical director, John Rodby, is like a mad genius when it comes to arranging. So, I trust him, and generally I'll say, I want to do this song, but like this.
Yeah.
This is what I'm hearing, and so he just runs with it and makes like crazy awesome arrangements, and then it's a joy. But yes, I agree with you. It's not as interesting when
Yeah.
it's just a straight cover, especially if it's someone like a like a Whitney Houston or something like that. Like, just let Whitney be Whitney,
Yeah. For sure. For sure. What is the song called? Sweet Thing. The song Sweet Thing? I knew it sung by Mary J. Blige.
Okay, yeah. Mhm.
You? I didn't know that was a cover of Chaka Khan and Rufus singing.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
And the arrangement sounds the same. Their voices are different, but the
Yeah.
arrangement is very similar. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I love both versions. But in my opinion, it's cool to
Yeah.
reinvent the song and
Yeah.
take on it. I mean, they're both, I'm not.
Well, and they're very different voices. So, like,
Yeah.
if your voice is very different, it's automatically gonna
For sure.
to change it.
Yeah.
But it is nice to shake it up, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought this was fun because, I played around with being a rocker chick and formed a band.
Remember.
Yeah. And what I found that was fun at the time. I don't know if you've done this, but even like covering songs that were sung by male vocalists, I thought it was fun to take a spin on. Like, that was even more.
Way more fun.
Yeah.
Way more fun. First, because my voice is closer to a man's voice, so it's easier. I don't know, these rocker chicks are so high, but I definitely dig that.
Yeah, Pat
I
Benatar
definitely dig that.
at the bar high. Pat Benatar.
I've been able to do a couple because it's not something I do normally. My cousin's husband, Jamie Green in Kansas City, he has been nice enough to put together a few rock shows for me when I'm in Kansas City. So we were able to, put a night or here or there of doing all that kind of stuff that like we grew up with,
Yeah.
right? Like Pat Benatar, but we would also do like Bryan Adams or that kind of stuff. So it's really fun. Like it's very fun to sing 80s, 70s, and 80s rock and 90s. Like, it's very fun. I just don't get to do it that often, but I've been able to do it with him a few times, and it's been very fun.
Right. Yeah. And the tough thing with a Pat Benatar song would be like, people know her as the vocalist, but if you switch up and like sing Rick Springfield, like I tried with Jesse's Girl, obviously I don't sound like Rick Springfield, Yeah,
it's already your own.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's awesome.
It's so funny.
Back in our rocker chick days.
Yeah. I didn't know that Kansas City was a jazz.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people came out of there, and it still is. It still is a very strong scene. And there's a jazz hall of fame there. It's a big town because apparently it was one of the few places that was still kind of back in the day when there was prohibition.
Okay.
And a lot of clubs across the country really weren't working. They were working in Kansas City. Like, I don't know what's going on there, but so all these great musicians came to Kansas City, and there would be live music, like, Charlie Parker kind of stuff. Like, the big names were all there. So it has a very rich history, and it has continued to this day still. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Isn't there that song, Kansas City, Here I Come?
Yeah, Kansas City. Here
My cover.
I sing that almost the end of every concert. I love that song.
Okay. Who sang that? Who am I trying to?
Well, many people have sung. I mean, the Beatles did it.
Yeah.
Little Richard, like a lot of people have done it, but it's much older than that, and his name is escaping me, but it's an old song.
Yeah, I think whatever
Yeah.
I'm hearing is not the Beatles version. It's
Yeah.
well,
Right.
legend has it that the Beatles were a major cover band back when they
Yes.
start.
Yeah.
They, of course, had other songs when they were popular, like Twist and Shout and
Yeah.
other ones I can't
Yeah.
right now, but they started off as a way to, just practice and keep working. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
very interesting. Yeah, who sing Kansas City?
To look it up. I want to say I don't want to say the wrong thing
I know. Is it
because I'm seeing the name, but I don't want to say the wrong thing because people will be mad at
Here we
me.
are. Yeah.
Wilbert Harrison.
Okay.
This rolls off the tongue. Wilbert Harrison. That's why I remembered it. Back in the day.
Yeah. So I want to ask you about your life evolution and your career evolution, and you have taken a bit of a pivot in recent years with what you're doing. And I want to about face. Was it because you were watching your noir movies about the City of Angels, Dragnet?
Right. Well, I mean, there is a little bit to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right now I have changed. I've had a big pivot, and I went back to school, and I'm a crime and intelligence analyst for the Los Angeles Police Department. Just like show choir, the same thing, totally the same. Now, what happened was, well, first of all, I'll just say it's not totally crazy. Like my grandfather was a homicide detective and retired as a captain. There's a lot of law enforcement in my family. And yes, I watch a lot of film noir and private investigators and all that stuff. I'm sure that sunk in, a little Dateline in there somewhere. But as the years have gone on in entertainment, like it's a struggle. Entertainment is a struggle, and for a woman of my age, you'd want to believe that these things aren't real, but it's harder when you're a woman of a certain age. Like they're not beating down your door or anything. And so I have been wanting to make a change. I just didn't know what. And then the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And all my shows got canceled. And like my whole career like disappeared overnight, right? Like a lot of people say, same. But it was like, oh, I can actually go back to school. Like I can actually attend these classes because I would have had shows. I wouldn't have been able to if it wasn't for the pandemic. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I said, well, I already have a bachelor's degree, but I'll just go to one of the community colleges here and I'll just take a couple classes and just see what strikes me. And so I took I was going to take it wasn't available, but I was going to maybe study gerontology because I'm like, well, that's where the jobs are. And I said, but just for fun, I will take a criminal justice class. Well, like on one of the first days of this criminal justice class, our Professor Callan, he was very smart. Most of the people in the class obviously are young. I'm not a young person, but they're young. And so he's describing as you move through the criminal justice system, like every kind of job in each part of the system, right? Which I thought was very smart. And he's like, well, in this part of the system, there are people called crime analysts and they do XYZ, and there's a program at Fullerton and there's a program, he said, at CSUN, which I found out was not the case. But I was like, gosh, that sounds really interesting. I don't know if I'm smart enough for that, but it's really interesting. And that kind of just like stuck in my brain, and I started to do research on it. I'm like, oh my gosh, these classes at Fullerton are about to start and they're going to be Zoom because of the pandemic. So, and they're on days I was going to be out of town for shows, but I'm not now.
Yep.
So I was able to it was a very intensive program where it would be like full days And, you know, I forget how many classes, 8 or 9 different courses. And then you do a 400-hour practicum, which was in person, but by then I could do it. But I fell in love with it. I fell in love with it. And, you know, it's fascinating. And so I just kept trucking along. And it, you know, it took me a while to get the internship because COVID had just, was still, you know, was still exists, obviously, but they were starting to have interns again. And so I started interning. I was in this pilot program at LAPD and ended up doing my internship there and then getting hired. And now I'm a crime analyst for the LAPD. It's crazy.
Oh,
It's crazy.
Do you feel that your work as an analyst, I mean, you were probably always analytical. I mean, do you feel with your approach to music that there was some analytics involved there or not? Do you think?
Yes, I think so. And I think more than that too, I was producing things. I was basically a project manager all these years
For your shows?
for my shows. And so stepping into this role, because I actually got hired in a supervisory capacity as well. Well, I was already supervising musicians, but you know, and I'd worked retail management. I was already a supervisor and analytical. Yes. I mean, you have to be analytical to create something for masses and to understand how people work and all of that. So yeah, it definitely played in. I think just in general life experience plays into it. I have a lot to learn still, you know, but I'm much more confident stepping into it as the age I am and the experiences I've had and the people I've dealt with and, you know, the understanding of human nature and all that stuff. Like, I don't feel like, oh, I wish I would have done this. Like, I don't regret any of the decisions I made because I love performing. I wouldn't have been ready to do that then. I wouldn't have been able to sit at a desk. Like, I sit at a desk a lot. There was no way in heck I was going to be sitting at a desk when I was, you know, 28, when we were doing, you know, our shows, No way. I would not have even, I would have just poo-pooed that in a second. But now I'm like, I'm ready to sit. Sitting's great. Big fan of sitting. But it's, you know, I kind of all came to this and it's not like I'm not still singing. Yeah. And the funny thing is, and I may have mentioned this to you early, like my day one at the job, everyone already knew me because I'd been interning there, but in the internal network, it was like vocalist wanted. It's like vocalist wanted. Well, they have like a national anthem cadre and a chorus and everything. So I do that now. So even in the capacity as a crime analyst, I'm still singing, which is crazy. But yeah, I still do my shows. We were able to, you know, I was still finishing things up that were getting rescheduled from the pandemic. And then you know, things come up here and there and I do them. I'm just not hustling. Yeah. If it comes up, great. Yeah. And things come up, you know. So best of both worlds. Yeah,
you set a precedent. You created a project or you know, your beautiful show, and you put a lot of am I trying to say, like, you put a lot of energy, like booster rockets raised a lot of energy years ago, and that still has momentum because of all that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, maybe this is a good time to disclose our experience at a community college, shall we? So, and our friend Tracy, we're just wanting to do something fun. So we signed up for a Polynesian class at Valley College. And we thought, oh, how fun, we're going to learn Tahitian. We're going to learn the hula, you know, how fun for us to do. And we pictured, you know, an island, a Pacific Islander, perhaps being this, you know,
logical.
But instead we had this guy named Paul, who was a senior citizen. We called him Polynesian Paul. He was a Pacific Islander, I'm pretty sure. And we had a very small class. This is I get the giggles, like a very small group in a big gymnasium. And our friend, her last name, well, should we expose? I think it's okay to, I don't know.
Well, let's not.
Okay,
We don't have,
we'll just say her last name was closer to the beginning of the alphabet. And we think that he started to do the roll and he called her name. We'll just say it's like Mary. Mary, are you here? And she's like, yeah. And then he stopped right there. That was it for roll. Those were the roll call. So in this group of like 8 of us, he would only call out our friend, Mary. Hey, Mary. And put her on the spot. We just were so giggly. It was so silly, but it was
very surreal and ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was really
I think we did learn stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how we learned anything.
I remember him having some sort of gourd, which I think was a percussionist thing. And he turned to Mary. It's like, Mary, do you know what this is? He just kept putting her on the spot. He didn't like look at anyone else.
She was the representative of the class.
Class of 8.
Oh no.
We had so many fun adventures. And
we did. We had
a lot of fun times. It's really interesting to look back and think that at one point you and I were also dressed as police officers in a parade at Mountain.
That's right.
Now you're working with the LAPD.
Yes. Oh, we had some adventures. Oh goodness. It was fun. Those were fun.
It was really
fun times. Yeah. Good times. Good times.
I was so happy. I was right out of college. I know you were too. And we were working with literally funny characters and figuratively funny characters.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah. Wonder Woman and Catwoman and
I always felt like if they
if
they put me as Wonder Woman, I felt like the fans were kind of like
I love doing it, but I'm like 5'4".
Right.
And Wonder Woman's on like Amazon.
Yeah. And I'm not an Amazon as well.
And I was on the float, so I felt tall. They'll never know. Look like I'm 20 feet taller than them.
Well, you're a Wonder Woman to me.
Oh, thanks. You too.
Well, thank you so much for coming on here and just having a conversation with me and sharing with the audience, whoever receives this, about your journey and what kind of, I feel like James Lipton on Inside Act.
Oh no, here we go.
What kind of advice would you give yourself? The one who was just starting off in Los Angeles and auditioning and hindsight being 2020, what would you?
I don't know, because the way I kind of see life is like there's one path and you're on it. And you might make mistakes and what you see as a mistake, but it's not really. It's all part of the path. I think I would have. I felt like I was brave, but I feel like I would have wanted to be braver, and to venture out more and meet more. I don't know, be more present in the music scene or something. But I think it's been a great life. Like I wouldn't really alter anything. I didn't achieve the kind of success that I, maybe had hoped for, but I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, because I've been able to be a mother. I've been able to, have a lot of really amazing experiences, and keep my life, so I don't know, just enjoy it. I hope that I enjoyed it. I feel like we really enjoyed the moments we had. I feel like I try to be that, like they say live in the moment, but really, yes, and I try to do that, and there's been a lot of times over the years where I'm on stage, especially when I'm with other people, and like I just realize like we are just out here making music and this is amazing, so just trying to do that as much as possible. I think that's all I'd say. Just go for it.
Well, thank you for coming on and sharing
My pleasure.
your your story to share and your song to share and your beautiful talent and your kindness. And you've been such a great friend to me. It really meant a lot to me how you were around at the end of my mom's life. And I think her last Christmas, you brought your son
Yes.
a lot to me and to her. And you're
I
just,
have those pictures. I was looking at those the other day, and that was very special.
Yeah.
Thanks, Christmas. Yeah.
an incredible friend and always taking the high road and lots of class and integrity.
Take the high road, Parker.
And
We have fun.
we had fun. We had fun. We laughed a lot. We laughed a lot. So I'm going to put in the description, I'm going to put Laura's Vintage Voice website and also her YouTube channel too. And I just want to say thank you so much. I hope that you've had fun, and I have.
I did. I always enjoy talking to you, and we just let people in on our wackiness.
Polynesian Paul, our Polynesian experience. I love alliteration too.
Oh, that was so weird. But it was fun. Still fun. Hey, if it's worth a story, it's all worth it, right? If you get a story out of it,
Yeah.
it's good.
It was
Even the worst experience, if you can get a good story out of it.
I personally think it's so uncomfortable when you trying not to laugh. And that's what it felt like. I couldn't look in the eyes.
I just look at each other like,
yeah, I couldn't, because I knew I would bust up, and I had a feeling that Polynesian Paul would like freak out, he would flip out, he would
oh my
go crazy.
gosh.
Anyways, Laura, I'll put all the information if people want to hear your beautiful music. And next time you're on, I want to be able to find that actual video. I want to see your
Oh yeah. You want to see the Jessica Rabbit silhouette.
Yeah.
Ooh. People have an image of me now because it's a game. That's not what I look like.
Yeah.
They're very disappointed. Oh no.
Thank you so much. And thank you for joining me, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.